Oh, yes, the King of Kings and the Lord of Lords. There's no one to be compared to you, Jesus. Forever you are worthy of our praises. Hallelujah. Amen. Worthy is the Lamb.
You are worthy.
The Lamb that was slain
You are worthy.
on the cross of Calvary to redeem me from my sin. I say, worthy is Jesus,
You are
the
worthy.
Son of the living.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the Insane program. It's my pleasure to be with you again, and thank you for joining me. My name is Emmanuel. Before I move forward, if you have not subscribed to this program, please go right now and do it. That is very, very important to us. And today, my special program is British and other imperialist masters. Why do I choose this topic? Because if you listen to the news, most of the problems happening in Nigeria now circles around our colonial masters. Nigeria now is really on fire. So many things going on there, we don't even know who is in control, who is in charge. So it's really, really a terrible condition for most of the Nigerians. And this applies to other African countries directly or indirectly, because Nigeria is the largest black African country and the greatest concentration of black people in the world. So anything that happens in Nigeria, it will go a long way in the African and the world politics and economies. So that's why I choose today to talk about it. A lot of things that are happening in Nigeria now in particular, it relates to the British people. From the time they arrived in Nigeria, that's when all these problems started. Before they came, Nigerians were in peace. The people we call Nigeria now, because those days we have the Igbo colony, we have the Yorubas, we have the Benis, and we have the Hausas. All of them were living in peace, having their own good time, doing their farming, hunting, and fishing. Until the British people came, they came, as we heard, on business. And from getting into business, then they started involving politics. So what did they do? They came back, found out that these people were in peace, and they didn't know how to get into them. They came with alcohol and gun. And since after that, Africa and Nigeria have never been in peace. So then they used the opportunity, disorganize these people, put all of them together, and call them Nigeria. You bring the Hausas, bring the Yorubas who were on their own, the Hausas on their own, the Igbos on their own. You brought all of them together and said they're Nigeria. And since that time, everything has been upside down. And not only that, it's upside down, and they have found their ways to put a lot of crisis in everything going there, because they want people who will be very humble to them, somebody who will not ask them questions about what they do and what they don't do. Like the Igbos are a typical type of people. Igbos are not the type of people one person will go out there and make decisions and bring to them. They are very, very tough people, and they should be the number one democracy in the world. Because when you send out your leader, the leader there will go there and get information from the white people, from the colonialists, and they come back. You tell the people, your town or your village people, they analyze what you say and then give you feedback to take to the colonial masters. And that is different from like the Hausas. Hausas, the moment you have one emir and the emir gets the information and give you an answer, that's final. It's not like that. But now the British people came, put all these people together because they had gun and alcohol. They disrupted the system of government already in existence before they came. And they used force and making these people to live together. It's like taking clay and iron, putting them together. To not be together for too long, and everything will fall apart. So that's what they do. And before you talk about somebody and talk about what they do, one has to, check very well so that you are not stigmatizing anybody, so that you're not putting any false accusations on anybody. You must have to, have a very convincing and ultimate certainty what you're talking about. So if we take in a recent time what has been happening in Nigeria, and when you see a lot of politicians, they stole all the Nigerian money, take them to the British bank, to the American bank, to the European banks, not matter of hundreds or thousands, we're talking of millions and billions of dollars. You take this thing over there, and the owners of this money are back in their countries, suffering, starving, and these British people and these Europeans, they use this money and put them in their bank and do their businesses. And here, for whatever reason, they go to them for loan. They loan back that your money at a very high rate, maybe 25% or 35%, knowing fully well that you cannot afford to pay that high rate. And after that again, they encourage those leaders to steal back that same loan again back to them and give it to them. And they put it in the bank, and they be laughing and watching these Africans suffering and dying. And when they come out, they be making jest of the Africans and calling them names. People may remember not too long ago, the former Prime Minister of Britain before Boris, and when he was telling the Queen, said that the Nigeria is the most corrupt country in the world. How are they corrupt? Because he was seeing that money. The whole money those politicians were bringing to his country were in his bank, and he said nothing. And he pretended when the money was coming like he didn't know. And after collecting those money and doing businesses with those money, then he would say that the other people are corrupt. And they instigate and induce politicians to be fighting among themselves, to be quarreling among themselves, so there'll never be peace. And when these things are happening, they feel happy about it, so that these people can never and ever be united to take care of themselves, or to put a good thing in their own countries, which is so much terrible. And how does that play? Like in Nigeria now, is on fire. A lot of people who cannot even afford a good shoe, you see them carrying AK-47. How much is AK-47 in the international market? Somebody who cannot feed himself is carrying AK-47. Sometimes some of them carry one or two at the same time. Because these people sell this gun to the Africans, to the Nigerians, so that they use it and be fighting among themselves and killing themselves, so that nobody will have time or opportunity to talk about all the money in their banks. They siphon all the oil, they siphon all the diamond, all the gold, bauxite, everything you can think of in Africa, and they go back home. And they be enjoying. They have good roads, good airports, they have good hospitals. And these people are back home. They are suffering. Why are they suffering? Because we managed to have some crazy politicians who patronize them, and they encourage them in one way or the other, and tell them what to do, how to kill their brothers and sisters, so that nobody will say anything. And you put in the British bank. And tomorrow you say that these people are corrupt. And when they are corrupt, yourself, you take the money and banking it over there. What are you? All of your thieves, bloodsuckers. That's what they do. Because you get this money, you know it's stolen. Because in your country, if you know how much a governor earns, every business that is in your country, and if it's in Nigeria, you can say the average somebody can make in Nigeria. You have a lot of businesses in Nigeria. You know how much they make? And somebody who is a governor comes to your bank in 1 year is banking up to $20 to $100 million. Where did the money come from? Don't you ask questions? But you don't ask. All you know is just get the money first, put it in your bank, and nobody should talk. Everybody zip it up. How do you think that plays in the world peace? Those people will be happy over there crying and screaming and wailing and no good drugs. When people are sick, sometimes people send adulterated medications to them. That's a very terrible thing. That's a very terrible thing. Like when I was in the high school, I remember my teacher or my principal, he used to tell us that if we show him a red rag, that he will react and reimburse like a bull. The Africans now are reacting. Most of them are reacting. Most of the guns being sent to Africa now, we don't know how far it can go because they're in the wrong hands. And everybody has to be careful what we are doing. We remember that like India, Britain ruled India for over 150 years. Britain ruled United States of America. Now, United States of America is the master of Britain because anything Britain is doing today, they have to consult the USA to seek for their support. Otherwise, something could go wrong. So that's how the world turns around and around. Most of the Africans have traveled worldwide and studied and sat with the British and the Europeans, stayed in the same class with them, learned the same courses with them. Nothing is secret anymore. There'll be a time when we'll be on an equal footing. Or even the master again may be a servant to the former servant. That's how the world goes. Like now, I don't think that Britain can wake up one day now and fight India. And remember that time, India, Pakistan, and Bangladesh, they were all together when the British people was ruling them. Pakistan is on their own, Bangladesh on their own, and there's some other countries. But things are changing, and changing really fast. We have to be careful. In Nigeria now, things are so terrible. We don't know if we have a president or not. We don't even know all the money we get from the oil, where it's going, where it's not going. But the most annoying part of it is that instead of these people to come and get involved and find peace in Nigeria, they are by the side, acting like a furnace. If you're in a cold region like US, Canada, and Europe, during the time of winter, you see, you have where you heat, you put wood and charcoal and or electricity to heat up your home. So what does that give you? It keeps giving you heat, depending on the quantity of any wood or electricity you put there. It keeps constantly giving you heat. So, but in Africa, it's a tropical country, and Nigeria in particular is a tropical country. And these people, all they are helping us is just putting more heat so that there never be peace. Because if there is peace and people can be together, that means that people can be able to talk among yourselves and find something good for you. And what does that mean to them? That's a bad business for them. Because the money, some of these European countries, they don't have oil, they don't have gold or diamond, but they are living very well on the money from Africa, on the money from the poor people, and they feel happy. And even they discriminate against them on their money. They talk bad against them. You see a black man, they call you a monkey, call you whatever bad name they want to tell you, just to get you upset so that you can go home. And you go home, they are back home on their own, eating your money, enjoying it, feeling good about your money. That's really a terrible thing. It gives a terrible feeling. So it makes people so much infuriated, like you see, like places like what do you call it, Libya, so messed up since after the death of Gaddafi, and nobody goes there to help them out. And it's getting close even to Nigeria now. So much sophisticated ammunitions going to Nigeria. And you'll be asking, who is financing all these things? Where are they getting this money from? Some places, mostly like the eastern part of Nigeria, sometimes people stay like 4 months, 5 months, 8 months, 1 year without receiving their salaries. And they go to work every day, suffering, seriously. And these people are back home enjoying our money, enjoying our oil money, diamond, and gold. It's so horrible. The people, one group is suffering, and the other people steal the money from them directly or indirectly. There's not even a secret. A compelling evidence to show the world what's going on. And at the end, what do they do? You want to have an election. They say, oh, okay, we're coming to supervise you to make sure it's fair and free. How can a dishonest person tell you when something is fair and when it's free? They saw money coming to their banks. Somebody you know that has no business earning like 100,000 is coming to deposit like 2 million in your bank. You accept it, close your mouth. And you know what is happening back home. Somebody is a minister. How much is the salary of a minister in your country? How much is the salary of a minister in Nigeria? How can a minister come to your country and deposit 1 million, 10 million, 20 million, 100 million, and you accept it? Next time, takes a vacation in your country and spends some part of the money and come home again, and his people are suffering, and everybody, when you talk, they either kill you, arrest you without bail, or in one way or the other, they want to make your life miserable so that you don't talk about them again. It's horrible thing that need to be corrected. And in Nigeria, they don't even know what to do. They don't know whether to split the country. Everybody go to your tent or Israel. They don't even know whether to stay together. You don't even know if you have a president. People say a lot of things about the President Buhari. Nobody corrects it. The president doesn't come out. They talk about his wife. Nobody comes to the press, explain to the citizens what's going on. I think it's a high time we started making our own decisions. If we really need to move forward, if we really want to take care of our own lives. If you go to Nigeria now, there is no good hospital. None. Even the private ones. Because sometimes, where do they get the medicine to give people in Nigeria? Imported. They don't have good labs. Nothing whatsoever. The best thing maybe you can find in Nigeria will be hotels. What will a hotel do for you? And it's still for the same people who are stealing government money. They cannot pay the school fees. They cannot pay government salaries. When you retire, you cannot get your pension. And the British people keep encouraging it. They keep engineering these people to be doing it. And when an outsider comes in and tells you that this is not good, they say, get him arrested, kill him, or put him in prison. Don't talk about him again ever. So how far can we go doing this? How far can you stay in your country and see this happening and enjoying stolen money? One person will bring almost $1 billion. We have heard about that. The government will not say anything. When Abacha was in government, people were complaining, and when he died, sometimes they start telling us, giving us conditions, how they will repatriate the 400 million here, 500 million here, 800 million over there. We're talking only about children. We don't want to talk like when Babangida was in the government, who was ruling exclusively from his own bedroom, and nobody said anything. Because saying it will send you 6 feet below the ground. You be careful, and nobody will talk about you again. We know what happened to Delegiwa, the firebrand journalist in Nigeria, who wrote about Babangida, and what happened. They sent him a letter bomb, and he died. And when he died, what happened? The newspaper or magazine went down. Yes, it went down. That was the end of it. Because nobody had courage again to say anything. Now this Buhari, who was there when he was a military leader, he arrested a lot of people, made decree 4, made decree 100, made decree 1, all of those things just to shut people up. Now he's stealing, his people are stealing, his party is stealing, limitless. The party leader will come out, he'll tell you that no matter any crime you commit in Nigeria, join their party and you'll be free. And it has been happening. People have been jumping to their party and we're stealing money. Nobody talks about it again. The judges don't have courage to act. When he gives them those crazy cases, they just keep adjourning the cases. Nobody will talk about it. When somebody join the police, join the army, they only go there not to make peace, but to make money. You go there to make money. How can a retired army chief will come out, have a big farmland that may take like almost $1 or $2 million to build? Where did he get the money from? How much is his salary as a police officer or as a military officer? You retire with all your benefits. You can't even buy a land, not to talk of practicing farming, mechanized farming. Because they're all stealing money. Give them money to buy uniform, shoes, and ammunition for the police or for the army. They put them in their pockets. Maybe they get a refurbished helicopter or other ammunitions, and they tell you how many millions they bought them, even if it costs them maybe like a few $100s. And the thing that the people are stupid. And we have so much educated people, so much smart people, and they're so intimidated that nobody talks. Ladies and gentlemen, in Nigeria, in Africa as a whole, it's time to wake up. They have to. If you keep fearing, for how long will you do that? You will die fearing. Does it make a difference? You come out publicly and challenge these people who openly, on a daylight, stealing your money, riding bulletproof cars, buying helicopters with the government money, and they convert them to their own private properties, and people are suffering. Over 200 million people in Nigeria, and everybody is so coward. They don't want to talk. They don't want to die. You can't write anything on the newspaper because most of the newspapers, the owners are these tips. You write anything as a journalist, you lose your job. As an editor, you're gone. So, but people have to wake up. Have to stop fearing, because fear kills. Fear kills. So we should wake up and take back our countries or take back our communities and make life better for everybody. We can't continue like this. Everybody has to wake up. Those people in the eastern part of Nigeria being pursued by cows, herdsmen, walking around with AK-47. I can't stop talking about it because I know how smart these Easterners are. When you see the genuinity in what they do, you'll be surprised why they should be quiet. When you people see what happens during the Civil War, how these people could use dengon, the dengon that you used to shoot the squirrels, birds, they use it and fought people that had very big, sophisticated machine guns. And they fought it for 3 years. And this time again, you're being so coward. Why should you? And how can you be so much threatened like that and you close your mouths? And the economy of Nigeria is in the hand of the Igbos. Nigeria is the Igbos and the Easterners as a whole are the only people that can migrate another area and develop that area without any fear. If they migrate to the Hausa land, most of the Hausa buildings and the roads were built by the Igbos with their own money. And you come back home, these people treat you like animals, have no respect for you. And you feel intimidated and walk away in fear. How long can you do that? So we better get up so that we don't lose our liberty. We better get up so that our children will not start blaming us, blaming everybody. Why? We left so much damages in their hand. So, gentlemen, let's think about it. Think about our children and grandchildren. Let's wake up and do more positive things. Thank you so much for staying with me. Thank you so much for listening. And please subscribe, because we have more hot issues that are coming up. Thank you, and God bless.
Where is the commander-in-chief? I don't know if you can tell me. Where is the commander-in-chief of the Federal Republic of Nigeria?
Well, you have to answer the question yourself.
Dr. Bati, I don't know. My simple answer is that I do not know where the commander-in-chief is. There is a clear lacuna in the presidency. You can't convince me to the contrary. When somebody went to the ballot, this is a man who sought power for 12 years, 2003, 2007, 2011, he wanted to be president by all means. Nigerians gave him a chance in 2015. Despite his failures, the mandate was renewed in 2019. And as of today, we are being ruled by proxy. Gabashewu is the one issuing, offensive statements every day, telling us what the president is saying, as if the president is incapacitated. Where is the president of Nigeria? Because when these governors are saying these things, when some of them pretend to be helpless or are genuinely helpless, where is the commander-in-chief? We saw our, Air Force men who were involved in the unfortunate air disaster mishap. They were buried. The president was not there. Our troops are being slaughtered in the north. The president is not there at their funeral. When last did the president talk to Nigerians? When last did we see the president grant a media charge? When last did we see the president speak with the victims of these kidnaps? When last did we see the president personally taking responsibility for the killings and the rampage that is going on? So if somebody is telling me that I have a president, I will raise an objection. Because the president that I want should not be a decorative president. It shouldn't be a portrait that, is occasionally brought out for photo ops, just to have some form of proof of life. Why have we lowered the bar? Why have we reduced this responsibility? When governors are making these incendiary comments, the other time you had the governor of Bauchi State coming out to say, oh, herdsmen can carry arms. They are justified to carry AK-47. You have the governor of Zamfara State saying, I will still continue to dialogue with bandits, with terrorists. You have the governor of Niger State saying a different thing. What you are seeing is a nation in crisis. It's a nation in peril. It's a nation that is lacking in direction and leadership. And, we keep trying to be politically correct. The reality as that today is that nobody can tell me that I have a commander-in-chief. You cannot be commanding from your bedroom.
Okay.
You have to lead from the front. That was what he promised. Okay. He said he will lead from the front. Okay. Today he's not even leading from the back.
The president is no longer with us. Were the president with us, we cannot be suffering perilous times like we are suffering now. We cannot be in the situation we are in this country. Banditry, pervasive hunger, insecurity, terrorism, kidnapping. Every facet of our national life is in danger. The country is on the edge. We are about to explode. Definitely the president is not with us. And it is so sad that he is not available, he is not with us, and he is yet to join our ancestors. The president is in transition, and anyone who is in transition cannot effectively do anything. And that is why there is no coordination in governance. That is why everyone is doing what he or she likes. That is why nobody is in charge of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. That is why we are in a state of higgledy-piggledy, total confusion, darkness everywhere. Definitely the president is not with us. The president is not with us. That is why the economy is in shambles. The president is not with us. That is why there is no coordination in governance and the administration of same in Nigeria. The president is not with us. God help the Federal Republic of Nigeria. Thank you.
To Odibo chieftaincy family. Now is what is called the Bajulaye kingship. That's where I came from. So I'm a proper Lagosian. That's my father's side. Then from my mother's side, it's called Eletu Iwashi. Because we all need to know our history so that these non-entities, these imbeciles, these moronic, nomadic, idiotic, useless human beings will not come into our land and start to dictate. And just in case any one of you may not know, the Fulanis are less than 10%, even 1% of who we are in Nigeria. They are less than 3 million. And population is telling us we are 200. In other words, the Fulanis, this egregious hegemony of the Fulani people are less than 1% in our country. And these idiotic people, with the help of the British, Britain, if you're hearing me, you are put on notice.
Son of the living God,
You are worthy.
who is seated on the throne in